These are the 5 things I love to see in my horror movies. Stick around. This one's going to be good. Hi, everybody. I am Star from the Horror Cat Super Show, and today I'm going to be talking about my 5 favorite things that I love in horror movies. Now, everybody's got a different opinion. I get it. Horror's subjective and all that. La 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 la. But I wanted to talk to you about what I find cool and groovy in my horror movies that keep me coming back for more. I'm going to go from 5 to 1, and I'm also going to give you some examples of some of the things that I think fit those criterias. This is going to be broad criteria, guys, so don't get all crazy on me. So if something doesn't fit into the criteria, go make your own video. That's all I can tell you. I'm going to try not to spoil them. So if it's something you haven't seen, you might want to look away just for a second or fast forward the video and then come back later after you've already seen it. Films that make me scare myself. Basically, these are movies that there's a lot of atmosphere in, and really the horror is what's going on in my mind. I'm gonna give you an example, and I don't want to hear it, guys, because some people just think this is the worst movie of all time. But Skinamarink is one of these movies that does this for me. First, it's analog, and analog kind of freaks me out to begin with. It's something that we don't really know what's going on. It's very incomprehensible. It could be this, it could be that. It's very surreal, and it's really whatever is scaring you. Skinamarink is one of those for me. Another one for me, and I don't talk about this movie because even the word elicits this fear in me, which I think this is a perfect example of that, is Jaws. I saw this when I was a kid, and oh my God, I have never recovered from this. I still don't watch this movie to this day. I showed my boys this movie because this was their movie. This wasn't really my movie. This was their movie. And they were like, oh, this is awesome. This is an amazing movie. And you know what? The shitty part is, it really is. Jaws is an amazing movie that's very atmospheric. It's very creepy. It's very claustrophobic underwater. You don't know what's going on. You feel very small. This is the kind of thing that I'm talking about. The stuff that really scares the shit out of me. It makes me think, oh my God. It makes me close my eyes, and in my sleep, I could get eaten by a shark, even though I'm not in the water. Alien was another one. The thought of this 9-foot creature chasing after you, having acid for blood, and no matter where you go, you cannot get away from this thing. It can smell you, it can feel you, and it's powerful. That's one of those things where you're in the dark. You're like, oh my God, is there something under the bed? Is there something in the closet? I'm going to put Paranormal Activity here too. But I have to be honest, I don't care for this movie very much. I'm not really a ghosty. And so stuff like that doesn't really do it for me. But I know a lot of people who are scared of this movie. It's something that messes with you. It makes you not feel safe anymore. It makes you question the things around you and what's happening to you. And if these things are real, if something can sit there and spook me now or a week later or whatever, and I'm still thinking about this, this is a powerful thing to have in your films. This is something that we're getting farther and farther away from, it seems. Maybe the studios think we need to be told everything. Don't tell me everything. I want to be surprised. I want to be in a place where I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening, right? And some examples of these movies are Psycho. Psycho, you're just sitting back and watching the unraveling of this maniac who looks like your next door neighbor. When he starts peeping through the wall, they're showing you this guy is demented. There is something wrong with this guy. There's no need for anybody to shove in our face that Norman Bates has a problem. A Quiet Place. A Quiet Place was a movie that was like, yes, finally, a creature feature, something that is very minimal dialogue. Okay, I'm in. I'm in for this. This is all show and no tell. This is the way it's done. I think this is a great movie and something you should check out if you haven't seen it. The Thing. So some of you horror buffs are going to know that this movie was considered a flop when it first came out. It has gained cult status after 20 plus years of this movie being out, and it's with good reason. John Carpenter was very adamant about showing the monster, which was a no-no in Hollywood. So he broke that taboo. It's frightening. It's always metamorphosizing. This thing is, it's got you on your toes. You don't feel safe because you don't even know if a dog is a dog. That's frightening. Hello, studios. This is something that I need in my films. Surprise me, scare me, and trick me. Don't let me feel safe when I'm in the theater. All right, now this one's a big one for me. This might also be known as the plot twist, usually at the end of the film, where you're feeling one thing is happening and all of a sudden you're not in that safe place anymore. One really good example of this one is You're Next. You're Next seems like your basic home invasion film, and then everything just starts to go nuts. Scream is another one. That's probably the best one that we can talk about, dealing with meta and almost a parody of horror, completely switching up the way we see people just getting attacked. Like these people were fighting back, these people were smart. They themselves knew the tropes, and that in itself is flipping the tropes. Cabin in the Woods. Cabin in the Woods is also a perfect example. You think this one thing is going on the whole movie, and then at the end you find out, oh my God, it's not even what you thought it was. You think it's this thing, and then it turns out to be one more thing after that. The Sixth Sense. I remember watching this the first time, and I was like, okay, it's just going to be this and this. And let me tell you, I'm not a fan of M. Night Shyamalan. Okay, I'll probably talk about this in another video, but I'm not a fan of his work. I think this was the first movie that I saw of his, and this wound up being an amazing payoff. Films like this will keep the viewer on their toes and keep coming up with fresh ways to tell the same old boring tropes. Some people really can't stand this particular thing, and I disagree. I think it's important that horror films, and they usually do, reflect the times that they're in. One of my favorites is The Babadook. Babadook really talks about grief on a different level. It also talks about the difficulty of being a mother and about the guilt that some people feel about not being comfortable in that role. Get Out is another perfect example. I mean, this movie is important on so many different levels, from the director to the actor to the story to all of, there's so many important things. And if you have not seen this movie, go stop this right now. No, don't stop this, but go after this and go watch this. And if you're into Latino cinema, you can also watch Culture Shock. Culture Shock is like the Latino version of Get Out. I think you can find that on Hulu. So go check those both out because they're really good. The Purge. Yeah, The Purge, I think, is self-explanatory. There's a lot of social economic tension in this movie, the haves, the have-nots. This is a really good one to check out as well. They Live. They Live is consumerism at its best. This is something subliminal. It's corporate greed. It's got everything in it, and in a really groovy way, where like if you just put the shades on, you can see the forest from the trees. The unhappy ending. If you give me an unhappy ending in a horror movie, and it's a good unhappy ending, oh my God, that's it. You've got me hook, line, and sinker. Some of the best ones, and I think this is pretty much well received as a number one, is gonna be The Mist. Even though the ending of The Mist is different in the book, Frank Darabont switched this up. Stephen King was in love with it. This is dread and unhappy ending at its finest. I don't want to ruin this because this one is so good that if you have not experienced it, I don't want to do anything to ruin you having that moment. Please go watch that movie. Seven. If you've seen this movie, you already know. You're already getting the goosebumps. You're already picturing what happened. I have three favorite genres of movies. One is definitely horror at the top. Sci-fi is the second. And I really, really love film noir. And Seven fits this bill. It's dark, it's grimy, it's spooky, it's suspenseful, 90s horror at its best. This movie has one of the worst unhappy endings ever. And if you haven't seen this one, go do a marathon of all these horrible ending movies. Go watch this movie. The Descent. This movie, oh my God, if you're claustrophobic, you're going to have a field day with this movie. It's got a wonderful female cast. This thing is terrifying, going between the fear of small spaces, the fear of being trapped, the fear of what's in there, like what's down there with them. And oh, God, there's so much more I want to say about this film, but this one is a creepy one. If you've seen this, you know it's awesome. Hereditary. There's a lot of people that I have spoken to, and this movie freaks out a lot of people, and with good reason. Another one about grief. It's about the family dynamic. It's about loss. It's about resentment. Every emotion you're feeling in there. All the actors are amazing in this. There's some really creepy stuff, and then the ending. So I I hope I haven't ruined it by telling you guys that these are unhappy endings anyway. But these are the things that I love in my horror. So I hope you enjoyed my list. These are the things I love. You might love something different. If you do, let me know in the comments below. I do think I'm going to wind up doing a 5 things I hate in horror because I've got some bones to pick there. So thanks for watching. Have a great day. I will see you next time. And until we meet again, shiver, scream, repeat. Bye.